Okay, what is up? Welcome to this tutorial slash guide video about how I personally like to play Taric, a mixture between Taric support and AP Taric, allowing you to both play offensively, have some fun in team fights, do some good damage and really get in your opponent's face, as well as of course supporting your AD carry in bot lane. Please note that this is only the second guide that I've made so far, so it will not be perfect, and this guide is not the perfect and best way to build Taric, but merely a way that I personally enjoy playing him a lot. Now, as you can see, I matched up here bot lane together with an Ashe. That's a pretty common pick, a pretty potent combination. The Taric stun can really get the stun plus Ashe's auto attacks really gives some nice damage. Now we're gonna try and go and invade here early game. You can really see how the stun, the E spell, which I always take first thing in level 1, really wins those level 1 fights. Here we're trying to invade for the golems, get some extra XP. The opponents were trying to stop us from doing this, but Taric stun plus Ashe damage at an early level just they can't deal with that. And here you see the stun goes in with that Doran's ring and some offensive rune page, just doing so much damage, plus the attacks by Ashe giving us the first blood. Now, while I comment on what is happening, I will try to squeeze in as much information as possible about things like runes, masteries, etc. Here you see Gangplank actually coming down from mid lane. Big mistake, giving me the exhaust. I will run away just to avoid some damage, but still, the stun plus Ashe's early game damage is enough to take him down. Now we're actually going to retreat and not do the golems, taking into account how little life I have left, but I have 2 assists and Ashe has 2 kills to start us off. This is going to allow us to really dominate our lane. Now, whilst we're sitting in here farming a little bit, just a little bit about rune page, masteries, etc. For rune pages, I go for 9021. I get all the AP and magic pen that I can get from the 9 points in the offensive tree, and then go into the utility tree. Put 21 points in there to get more or less the average sustain things that you need: mana regen, cooldown reduction, and all those very useful things that you might need, especially as a semi-support character. Then for my rune page, I go magic penetration, armor, flat armor yellows, and magic resist per level blues. This gives me a bit of tankiness in later on team fights, so I don't get focused down immediately. And the magic pen, which can be replaced by ability power, together with ability power quintessences, really gives you some good early game burst damage that will really help you throughout the game. Now you can see here we're really zoning the opponents very nicely. This is something that a Taric lane could do very well. I'm just, as a support, going to wait here in the bush, wait for them to come close, and then give them my E-spell. For those of you who aren't sure about this, or who maybe haven't played Taric before, or never played with them, your E-spell is the coolest thing about Taric. Your E-spell is a dazzle. It's called dazzle. Sorry, I have my interface in German here. It's called dazzle, and what it does, it stuns your opponent for 1.5 seconds and does some pretty good damage depending on the distance. So the closer you are to the opponent, the more damage you will do. So this stun at point blank range, right up in your opponent's face, will really do some really good damage, and then allow Ashe, of course, to follow that up with her attacks, doing really nice damage with her auto attacks and abilities. Now, then we have the W spell. The W spell has a passive with it that increases the magic resist. I believe it's the armor of all the surrounding friendly units, or champions. This is very useful in lane, especially against a character like Graves, who really builds attack damage. This makes both me and Ashe a little bit less squishy early on, and late game as well. Then the Q spell is Taric's heal. The active of W bursts the aura around you, which is represented by these small stone shards, and does some nice burst damage to all the opponents in the area, and reduces their armor for a certain amount for a little bit. So again, very useful to burst down opponents and to reduce their armor so that Ashe can do even more damage. Now the Q spell, which you see me use every once in a while, is Taric's heal. Taric's heal, when building AP, can heal a lot, and it's a very useful thing. Now, what's very important, that Taric's auto attacks on minions or on champions reduce the cooldown of his heal. Now, while I've been talking about the abilities here, we get another kill in lane with the really traditional setup. I get a stun off Ashe uses her abilities on the opponent, I burst my W spell in their face, and there goes Soraka. You will also have noticed that I believe that I did use my Ignite here. I do run Ignite on Taric, even though I do play him as a support-ish character, because in situations like this Ignite would have guaranteed us the kill here. Now here we have a Shaco popping in, and you can really see how, even though I'm playing offensively, we do lose this. We were overextending a little bit too much, even though Taric has that good stun and powerful heal. If you're out of mana like I was, you can't really do anything to help your teammates, and again, you shouldn't be overextending somewhere here when you don't know where the opponent's jungler is. And at this point in the game, I actually didn't buy wards, because I begin the game by buying a Dorn's Ring. Buying a Dorn's Ring early on really allows you to get that AP, which you need to do the damage with your Dazzle and your W spell, your Shatter, and of course it makes you heal even more potent. I also like having those 80 life points, because they make you a bit more tanky, so that the opponent AD carry like Graves here really can't do much to poke me down, because combined with the passive, the aura from my W spell, he's really not doing much damage on me, as you can see here. I really don't have to be afraid. It's in this situation I probably do more damage than Graves right now. Okay, now maybe since we have a moment of time, we'll talk little bit more about the summoner spells that I chose. I chose Exhaust and Ignite. Now these are very offensive spells, but Exhaust is useful when you're going in a 1v1 situation. When you're up in a 1v1 situation, or even 2v1 or 2v2, you exhaust the opponent, you dazzle them in point blank range, dealing good damage, stunning them. You then Q-spell them with your Shatter, doing additional damage, and then pop your ultimate. Now your ultimate hits well, it's basically charges your hammer, the really cool big one, with energy, smashes it on the ground, and does AoE damage, area of effect damage, to all surrounding opponents. Furthermore, it increases the ability power and attack damage of you and all nearby allies for a certain amount, for a short period of time. So it's pretty good steroid, and does nice AoE damage. So as I was saying, you pop Exhaust on the opponent, you pop your ultimate, put an E-Dazzle on there with that extra AP from point blank range, burst your passive with W, and then if they're still alive, you put that Ignite on there, and any opponent will be dead in this situation. So that's really why I choose this offensive build. Additionally, it's become more common for the AD carry, like Ashe here, to run Summoner Heal, because it heals them a larger amount. So that's what you want to do. You can have, by taking these offensive spells yourself, you can have your AD carry take, like, for example, Teleport and Heal, both spells which have a lot of utility. Now you can see we're really zoning out and pushing this lane pretty heavily. We're not really afraid of Shaco all too much. He hasn't been getting any ganks off. You see the only kill he got was on Ashe when we overextended in the bot lane. So we're feeling pretty safe. I'm actually going in auto-attacking the minions because of my passive. I even forgot to mention this. What the passive does is with every auto-attack, or with every damage I deal, with my normal attack, 7.5% of the damage is converted into mana. So this gives you great sustain even as a support. It's no problem if you go up to the minions, hit them on the head a few times with your hammer to regain that mana and have that sustain in your lane. Now we're 8 minutes into the game here. I haven't even gone back yet. I have a good amount of gold. I've had 3 assists and no kills, and I believe Ashe is doing fine. Well, she's not doing great in CS, but she's definitely doing better than the other Graves. I don't know, this is not a ranked game. No high elo, so you know it was to be expected that Ashe isn't the greatest at farming, but we're doing fine. I do believe that she has at least 3 kills. Yes, 3 kills. That should do the job. Okay, well, while we're just sitting in here farming up a little bit, I guess I'd talk a little bit about the item build I'm gonna go for and why I prefer playing AP Taric. AP Taric is more fun than normal support build Taric. With an AP Taric, you feel like you're important. You feel like you're a big part of the team. AP Taric allows you to do really well in 1v1 fights. You can win most 1v1 fights doing really nice damage. You have good damage, well, good burst damage, although your sustained damage is pretty useless. But even if you build AP, you're still a huge help to your team due to your stun, which is still just as useful even if you don't build a support build, and your Q, your heal, will just heal such crazy amounts late game. Late game, you can really see Taric blowing out 700 heals, and even more than that when his ultimate is on. Now here you can see we actually tower dived at level 7. It was always slightly risky. The Soraka was actually AFK for a minute or two there, which really did help us out. But Graves was playing too offensively. He got caught by my Dazzle, then by the Ashe ultimate, and that really killed him off. I did even pop my ultimate just to get that extra little bit of AoE burst damage. I didn't even have to use a summoner still, but you see I could have exhausted and ignited him to definitely get the kill on there. Now you see in chat Graves is complaining that this was due to lag, but really he was just caught out of position. Okay, let's see if there's something else we can look at while we're farming here in lane. Yes, to my item build. What I like to do is, for items, I really like building a death cap. This might sound somewhat hilarious or funny, building Rabadon's death cap on a support, but that AP, that huge amount of AP just gives you so much damage. Now here you see how we can really turn around Graves Initiate on him due to that burst damage. As I was saying, Rabadon's death cap, a really great item. When it comes to items from there on, it's really depends on the lane setup and the general way the game is going. If you're really owning, like we are in this bottom lane, it's fine to just build full AP. Don't build any tankiness, don't build any support items, just build full AP to hit out those huge heals and really big damage. Now here again, Graves overextending drastically, me actually completely failing, a very newbie move, going down to the tower, going down to Graves even. Oh my god. This is something you never want to do as Taric. You are still a supporty character. You don't want to go tower diving, because after you've blown your combo for your damage, you have nothing left. Your auto attacks do hilariously little. Now Graves completely overextending here, but still getting the kill on Ashe. Somewhat pathetic move there, but you know, everybody has their weak moments. As I was saying about items, depending on how the game is going, you want to build full AP if the game is going well for you, or you want to go a more tanky build if your team's tank is having issues, or if you believe that the opponents will focus you down very quickly. Or if your team really is having issues, you can still go for that standard support build with those aura items, you know, get the magic resist, etc., legion for your team, all of those things. But really, if you are in the lead, which you should be, because a AP Taric Ashe lane should be getting kills early on, if you are in a lead like we are, really rush that needlessly loud Raj to give you that sick amount of AP, 122 AP here on a support character. That's going to give you all the damage and all the sustain you need. Now, while you're seeing me farming here, this really demonstrates how Taric is actually pretty good at farming away a lane, taking down waves of minions, and even pushing a lane. Taric can, AP Taric can, I repeat, can be played solo top or even mid against some champions, because you have enough damage to burst them down, like you see here. I'm very sorry for this, Ashe missing her arrow there. For the lag on my PC here, I'm actually uploading something in the background. You can take a solo lane. You can. Taric is a good counter against some champions who can only do damage once they're close up, but it's very risky and difficult to master. But if you pull it off, you know, it's really gonna piss your opponents off that they're being owned in a solo lane by a Taric. You can see that with my W, with the AP that I have, I can farm waves pretty nicely, a bit more AP, and I will be able to one-hit those waves, giving me a nice amount of CS, which it's always good to have, even though you're playing a supporty style character. The more CS, the more gold, the more AP, and the more ownage you'll be dishing out later in the game in the team fights. Now I do believe that this game isn't even going to go into the later stage, because the opponents realize that Ashe is pretty well fed at the moment, and that me especially, together with this Ashe, can just melt down anybody, of course requiring that Ashe doesn't do too many stupid things. We are gonna just drop in here, do a bit of counter jungling. We feel safe, we aren't afraid of Shaco. I believe I saw him at the top lane as well. Anytime you know that the opponent jungler is nowhere near, just drop in there and steal a bit of his jungle just to make him mad, get that extra XP, especially when you don't really need to push the lane right now. Now Soraka's still having problems connecting, disconnecting here, but she wouldn't really save the day, so this is not really much of an issue. Now here we have to play defensively. I do dazzle the Graves, who's trying to follow us, essentially forcing them to fall back, because they could take us down, they have enough damage, but they don't want to risk it, because they've already seen a few times now how Taric can burst down an opponent in a 1v1, so they're playing it safe. Okay, now you can see I'm actually taking the blue buff here. Some people would say I'm stealing the blue buff from our Morgana mid lane, but Taric really profits heavily from the blue buff, because I stated before that Taric relies on his burst combo. Now blue buff gives you a really nice amount of cooldown reduction. I'm not sure how much it is exactly from my head, but it's very noticeable. It allows you to put more heals onto your team and basically spam your stun and your W spell, so that you can really burst down opponents in team fights and then keep in there doing damage, stunning opponents, finding the opponent's AD carry, taking them down, and dishing out the heals. Now, while we're sitting in lane here, just a little bit about how to play in a team fight. What you want to do as AP Taric is slightly different from what you would normally expect to be doing as a support Taric. As a support Taric, you tend to stay in the background, you know, supply the team with your auras, etc. As an AP Taric, you want to wait for your team to initiate, wait for most of the CCs to have been used of the opponent team, then run in, dazzle, use your E-spell to stun the opponent's AD carry or AP carry, like a Graves in this case, run up to him, pop your ultimate, your W, exhaust him, ignite him, whatever, put all the damage you have onto that one target. You're probably gonna kill him or almost kill him, and from there onward, fall back and play a more supporty role, heal your team, etc. But in the beginning, you want to jump in there, focus down the opponent's the opponent's AD carry or AP carry to really turn the team fight in your favor. Now this is exactly the reason why Taric is a good counter to many other supports, because other supports take a more defensive role, like a Soraka will never go in and do damage. A Soraka will stay in the background, popping your heals, maybe putting a silence in or something. But as a Taric, if you have a Taric on your team, you can jump in, kill their Graves. Well, Soraka can't really do anything. She can't go in and kill our Ashe. This is why building an AP Taric can, in some team compositions, work out really nicely in your favor. Now, just checking if there's a Shaco here. Being a little bit ballsy, of course, but Shaco is top lane, so I am safe. But at this point in the game, we know that we have more or less won this, even though we're only 2 kills ahead in general. The the lead that me and Ashe have been building up bot lane should carry this game forward. Okay, let's see. Now, about picking... Oh, here we see a 1v2 with Taric, actually. The Ashe arrow coming in beautifully, allowing me to take down the Graves, and then the Soraka at hilariously low level. Although she might even... she gets away, but this was a 2v1 Soraka and Graves against the Taric. I could just completely burst down that Graves. So sorry for not capturing that on camera. I was slightly distracted. But I think you get the point that an AP Taric can do that nice amount of damage and can really almost carry your team later on. Now, I believe I was going to say something very important, but it has slipped my mind now. Oh yes, I was going to talk about choosing Taric, or saying, choosing Taric in the lineup. If you're playing ranked, always when you choose Taric as a support, or when you want to play him AP, write in the chat that you're going to play Taric AP. You see here another nice example of how we just bursted down Renekton. Oftentimes people will think you're trolling them or you're just screwing around, laugh at you saying, "Ah, Taric AD, that's funny." But that's why make sure to write beforehand in the chat that you will be playing an AD Taric, just that they know. If they really don't want you to, either you just say screw you and do it, but just be aware of that often you will have people thinking that you're just trolling them, but they'll see in the long run, they'll see after a couple of minutes in the game how useful AP Taric is actually. Now, Graves is actually sitting over here, never something smart to do, walking around alone when you know that there's a Taric in the bush. And you see here, our damage combo really taking him down, even though none of us has any mana. The stun plus the auto attacks is basically enough to melt anybody. Now, the difficult thing about playing AP Taric is that he can be very easily countered. AP Taric can do only one thing, really. He can run in, stun, blast his full combo, hoping to get a kill, and then run out and heal and support with his heal from the background. Now, if the enemy team has champions like a Kyle, for example, who can just make the AD carry temporarily invulnerable once you've placed the stun on him and pop all your abilities, this basically makes you very inefficient and more or less, well, I'd even say useless for the team, because if it really counters the point of AP Taric. The point of AP Taric, which really is running in, taking down one enemy, running back out, and then supporting from the background. Now, I did mention early on that Taric can be played solo top or mid. I also mentioned that it's very risky and somewhat difficult to do and master, but it's definitely something to try out because it's so fun. Playing against a traditional AP carry mid or just a normal top guy, solo top, and actually winning the lane will give you so much more satisfaction than playing as a support, in my opinion. Now, just to sum this up, a reason why you can see really how good Taric is at pushing the lane. Just to sum it up, why I personally prefer AP Taric over support Taric, even though it may not be the best build or the most beneficial for your team, is because it's much more fun to play a support that has the ability to go in there and do damage. If you just play your support Taric, it's a very passive play style. You can't play very aggressively, and you know, it's really not that much fun. Playing an AP Taric is a hell of a lot of fun. You get those kills, 2 kills, 6 assists, and 1 death only, while still supporting your team. Okay, this is more or less all I have to say. If you do have questions or want to talk about things that I probably forgot to mention, I bet there's tons of those, please feel free to comment, and I'll just leave this running just a little bit longer to see if something awesome happens. And if it does, I will comment on it. Okay, now here you do see Graves engaging me in a 1v1. I do put the exhaust and the ignite on it, hoping I can catch it with my stun, but my stun is on cooldown, and now my fraps is lagging horrendously, so you don't even see the end of this. Now here, this is a situation where my Malphite is really in trouble, but I go in there, put down 1 stun, give him a heal, so he does survive the situation, and of course his ulti does save him there, which is very powerful ulti. And we are moving forward here. I believe a team fight will break out, hopefully, and at this point we should win a team fight. Now here Graves is making the mistake to think he can take on Malphite. I'm just going to go in there with the stun, with my W, and he is dead. At this point the Graves probably feels pretty demoralized, since he was just completely melted a few times in a row by a Taric. So I'm just going to stick down here, push the torrent, but it's too late. The opponent is already giving up. They really don't want to hold out this torture any longer. They have been owned by an AP Taric, and I hope that from this short, probably pretty useless guide, you have found some useful things. And please do comment, rate, so that I can get better at this. Give me some feedback. I will be posting a link to Mobafire, where I will be uploading the guide in written form, so that everybody who doesn't want to watch the video or has watched the video and doesn't want to watch it again and wants to look up the guide can look up the guide on Mobafire. That's all for now, and I hope you enjoyed it.